if you're someone who's been trying to eat healthy while still hitting your goals when it comes to losing weight, getting shredded, or building muscle, but you've been struggling to do that and you just keep failing at your diet, then keep watching this video. And so, from my experience, every time that I've tried to jump into a perfect diet on paper, it's always failed. I'll stick to it for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes close to a month, right? And then all of a sudden, it just collapses, and I catch myself not really making the best food choices when it comes to the type of food, but also like if I'm trying to lose weight, I'll go on a surplus, or like I just won't be in a deficit, and like my whole plan just goes to shambles. And so, what I've learned from all these experiences, and also from my positive experiences of being able to stick to the diets that I've created later on, is that you never want to jump into a perfect diet, right? Because we all fall into these rabbit holes on the internet where you're searching for the exact perfect diet, the specific foods and the specific times of day. What exactly should be my breakfast? When should be my breakfast? What time? What should be my eating window? What should be my pre-workout meal? What should be my post-workout meal? How much fiber should I get exactly? What types of fiber should I get, right? And you're trying to hit all your micronutrients on top of your macronutrients, and it just becomes so overwhelming, right? Just from me saying all that, you probably just got like a mini headache from all the stuff that you need to consider if you're trying to build the perfect diet on plan. The thing is, there's a few kind of staple aspects in your diet that you want to make sure you're getting enough of, and some things that you want to avoid in general, which are going to get you kind of 80% of the results for 20% of the work. So everyone's heard of the 80-20 rule, right? Where 20% of the efforts that you can make can result you in 80% of the progress, right? Or the potential of the progress that you can make. And so the issue is, what is that 20%? Because outside of that 20%, there's 80% of the stuff that you can think about and work towards that won't result in the most amount of progress when it comes to your goals. And so when it comes to eating healthy, right, and like being able to actually stick to it, there's only actually a few things you need to worry about, okay? At least to start with, right? The thing is, we don't want to jump into a perfect diet on week 1 or month 1, and also even maybe year 1. Because if you have not been sticking to a relatively very healthy lifestyle, or the lifestyle that you imagine that yourself or your ideal self to be in, it's very hard to make that complete switch in lifestyles, right? You're undoing like 20, 30 years of bad habits. And so it's just not realistic. That's why you keep failing. You get frustrated with yourself, and then over time, you lose trust in yourself to be able to stick to those lifestyle changes. And so what is that 20% that yields the 80% of progress? The first one is going to be just getting enough protein, right? And outside of all the gym bro talk, even if you're not concerned with getting super jacked, super muscular, super big, you still need a relative amount of protein to stay healthy, to maintain your muscle mass, so that even if you're not concerned with your aesthetics, which I'm sure most of you watching this probably are, even if you're not trying to be a bodybuilder, having some sort of muscle mass is just gonna make you look good in your body. You're gonna feel good about the person you see in the mirror. But having some sort of relative muscle mass is gonna make you live longer, right? It's one of the biggest predictors of how fast people age, right? And your body moves because of your muscle. So if you're continuously losing muscle as you age, you're increasing your chances of just getting injuries or just not being able to function in your body and feeling healthy in your body, right? Like doing simple movements might start feeling difficult, right? As you age. Right now, it might not be an issue, but the goal is to either maintain the muscle mass or increase it, right? For most people, you probably don't want to decrease your muscle mass unless you're in the very extreme end of being super muscular, where like it inhibits your mobility and whatnot. And so, how much protein should you get? If you're trying to just maintain and you're not really in a caloric deficit, then just sticking to 0.6 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And so, if you're 200 pounds, that's just simply 120 grams of protein, which again is very, very reasonable. I've made videos in the past of like the different targets for different people when it comes to protein, and exactly like simple ways to hit that. And I'll record videos on my meal plan, exactly how I hit close to 200 grams of protein a day. So stay tuned for that, or just watch other videos that talk about that, right? But if you're trying to increase muscle mass and to a good level where you're not really leaving a lot on the table, you probably want to be starting at 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And if you're trying to really maintain all your mass or potentially increasing muscle mass while being in a pretty good caloric deficit, you probably want to go higher on the end of like a gram of protein per pound of body weight. Obviously, you can still be at the 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight if you're trying to get the satiating effects of protein, because again, no one's ever gone fat from eating chicken breasts, because it's just so hard to eat that much protein and still be that hungry in order to be able to, eat a lot of other calories. And so protein, that's one thing. Just make sure that it's complete sources. Most of the complete sources of protein are going to be from animal sources, and it's just going to make sure that you get enough of the amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks that make protein, and so you want to make sure you're getting enough of each, so that like your body has enough of each amino acid to do the different functions in your body, right? Because you don't need protein just to build muscle mass. It's for a lot of other functions in your body. Next thing you want to worry about, fats. Okay. And for fats, you really don't want to go under 50 grams of fats per day for men and women, because it's going to tank your hormones, especially your sex hormones, so testosterone, estrogen. And that's going to affect your overall mood, energy, kind of like willpower, right? So you want to make sure you're getting enough of that. Make sure you're getting enough of omega-3 fats as well. If you don't eat fish or don't eat a lot of other omega-3 sources, just take a supplement. I have a supplement back here that I take. And yeah. Then when it comes to carbohydrates, now it's a bit more complex, because again, it depends on how active you are. It depends on how well you thrive without carbohydrates or how well you thrive with carbohydrates, and also how many calories you have, right? Because let's say you're in a very deep caloric deficit, which I don't recommend, you just won't have that many calories to spare after your proteins and fats for carbohydrates. If you're not restricted by carbohydrates, then again, if you can do well on a keto diet, for example, you don't need that many carbs. It's just up to preference. Just making sure that you're kind of using them more like for fuel instead of like satisfying your cravings all the time, which again is fine. You can do both at the same time, but generally people who are more active consume more carbohydrates. Make sure that if you want to optimize your training, try to have simple carbohydrates, so sugars that digest pretty fast. So something like honey digests pretty fast, right? Where something like oats have a lot of fiber, right? And so they will digest a lot slower. So it's maybe something you want to have closer at night, or something in the morning that's going to keep you full throughout the day. But something for like pre-training, probably simple carbs, just so you can have the access to use those carbohydrates for energy in your workout. And past carbs, you want to worry about fiber. Okay, fiber. Most people probably get like below 10 grams a day. It's recommended that you're getting around 25 grams a day. Again, depends if you're male, female, also your size. But again, don't increase it all at once because you'll feel kind of constipated if you do it all at once. Um, and so, yeah, I built mine slowly over time, like 5 grams every few weeks. And that's definitely a better approach than like increasing it by 30 grams a week because then your digestive system isn't able to adapt that fast. So the first few days will kind of feel you'll feel very bloated, right? So after fiber, what do you have to worry about? We kind of covered all the major macronutrients. And I'd honestly, if you're getting to that point where you've perfected those aspects, I'd stick to it for a month or two and just make sure you nail that down, right? And so you're not concerned with the micronutrients. Oh, how much vitamin A and vitamin E and magnesium am I getting? Even though, sure, you do want to really prioritize that, it's just so difficult. It's so difficult now. We have so many distractions, so many temptations. The last thing you want to do is overcomplicate your diet, um, and then fall off the tracks when you're like, oh my god, I can't handle all that. So then stick to this for like a couple months, even 3 months. Nothing wrong with even sticking this for 6 months. It's still going to be a lot healthier to what you usually do. For in the meantime, you can just have multivitamins, your omega 3s, stuff like that to cover, or like always have a vitamin or vitamin D supplement, right? Especially if you don't get that much sunlight, just to cover all the major gaps, right? And all the smaller gaps we can cover later, right? Once you're done the 6 months, then whatever diet that you've been consistent with, just log it on like a calorie tracking app or something. And some of them will have you can use an app called Chronometer, right? It's both on like web-based and app. And if you just log all the food that you eat per day, right? It'll show you the calories, the macronutrients, but it'll also show you all the micronutrients. So like all your vitamins, all your minerals, like magnesium, iron, zinc, selenium, right? And then from there you can see, okay, for my weight and my age, are there some that I'm getting too little of, right? Considering multivitamins, but ideally, once you're past the stage where you don't have to worry about macronutrients, your diet's on point when it comes to that. Now you're gonna make different like food swaps in order to increase the nutritional density of those foods. Then you can worry about, okay, what changes can I make in order to get up my magnesium. Some of the major ones are like can be your magnesium, like your vitamin K, vitamin E, vitamin D, which is very hard through food. So like everyone pretty much has to take a supplement. And then from there, you can optimize every single one of those, and you'll feel a change genuinely. Again, could be placebo, but in my experience and from the research that's widely been cited, you do feel a difference once you also get your micronutrient goals, not just macronutrients. But again, the first things you want to worry about is this. That's what's going to make like the 70 to 80% of the progress for the 20% amount of the work, right? If you're just worried about protein, fats, carbs, and the different nuances in the types of carbs and like types of fats and like the fiber as well, that's like 20% of the work for, again, most of the progress for most people, right? So worry about that first, and then I'll make a different video on specific foods that will target specific micronutrient deficiencies. In another video, let me know what else you want to see. Stay healthy.